Welcome to another edition of Double Take's Offseason Report. Now, a lot can change in 3 years. Back in 2017, LeBron had made good on his promise to bring a title back to Cleveland, and in a lot of ways the Cavs can be classified in LeBron or non-LeBron eras. But with a few years of tactical rebuilding, could the Cavs get back to playoff contention without the best player in the world? Call me crazy, but I think so. Let's start with that payroll. Kevin Love's contract is the definition of bloated. I don't doubt that he could be a good mentor for young players, but he's clearly frustrated with the state of the team, and $30 million a season for the next 3 years is a hefty price to pay for some veteran leadership. If you aren't a playoff contender, this is the contract you just have to unload, even if you don't get something too shiny in exchange, just as long as you don't want to give up any young talent or picks. I'll get into this later, but the Cavs having some more cap room in 2021 will benefit them immensely. The Cavs are finally free of Tristan Thompson's contract as well, so if Andre Drummond chooses to not exercise his player option, there could be a lot of money to work with. Delly's contract being done is also clutch, because the focus should be to develop Garland and Sexton into the 1-2 punch they can be, a la Dame and CJ McCollum. The Cavs shouldn't even sniff another established point guard for the next couple of years. You aren't going to like this, Cavs fans, but the worse you are next year, the better. But it goes so much farther than tanking for a high draft pick. 2021 will be the perfect year to have a low payroll as a rebuilding team. Let me explain. The 2021 offseason is going to be an absolute circus. Some of the biggest names in basketball are going to be free agents, and teams are going to be panicking to make space and try to sign one of these guys. But to do this, they'll have to unload some contracts to free up some room. What do you give up when you have to unload a contract but are also a contender? Draft picks. Exactly what the Cavs need. You see, not every pick works out, but the more chances you get, the more likely you'll get that big star. Instead of just trying to be bad and hoping that you get the #1 pick, if your team is a non-contender and has cap space, you should take on a couple of those close to expiring contracts in exchange for first-round picks that playoff teams just don't value. And with other teams getting desperate in 2021, the Cavs can be in line to get some immediate draft capital. Now, if you're thinking, what good is a high or mid first-round pick anyways? The draft in 2021 is shaping up to be an extremely solid one, and as we see with Tyler Hero and Donovan Mitchell, mock drafts aren't an exact science. If you could pair your impending top 3 lottery pick with a couple of mid-first rounders, you put yourself in a much better position than holding on to some cap space for a free agent that isn't coming, while putting your fate into some ping pong balls, hoping you get the #1 pick. Like I said, more picks equals more chances, and you find yourself with more talent than you started with as a couple of bad contracts fade away in a couple of years while your young core develops. This is why tanking by itself is flawed. The more effective way of tanking is by taking advantage of your low payroll to have more dice to throw in upcoming drafts. Especially if they move Kevin Love, the Cavs will be in a strangely blessed place in 2021 by having the right kind of cheap team at the right time. Looking ahead to this draft, the Warriors were supposed to pick up James Wiseman, but more is being said about their affinity for Deni Avdija. If this is the case, this is a massive win for the Cavs, as most likely Wiseman would fall to 5. This is the perfect guy to match up with Sexton and Garland, and the 3 can make some noise as an upcoming trio. The other 2 guys they should eye are Onyeka Okongwu and Obi Toppin, but Wiseman would really be an instant game changer. If the Cavs play their cards right and procure some picks from other teams' contracts, they could have a lineup of Garland, Sexton, top prospect Jonathan Kuminga at small forward, another promising talent of their choosing, and James Wiseman all within a 2-year period. The Cavs have enough cap space to fit in another talent of their choosing if they take on a second, undesirable, close to expiring contract for an additional pick. And they still have Kevin Porter Jr. coming off the bench. But the Cavs must commit to this before they have to pay Sexton and Garland real contracts. Now, I know this offseason preview wasn't as much about improving the win column in the next season and more about how to fix this team going forward. But if the Cavs commit to this solid plan using both their high picks and massive cap space rather than blindly losing for the #1 pick, I truly believe this team can go places. Contrary to most NBA fans, I think the Cavs are going to be one of the most intriguing teams to watch in the next couple of seasons. The unique combination of having a low payroll right before an eventful free agency, the young talent that they'll have after this upcoming draft, and the ability to make moves and dominate the 2021 draft has me thinking that the Cavs could be back before you know it.